G'day, and welcome to another episode of Aussie Tech Security. Yes, we're going to get more in depth in the coming episodes of certain topics. But before we do this week's show, let's say thanks to Aussie Tech Heads web hosting at athwebhosting.com.au. And we'll also find out who else this show is brought to when we introduce our co-host, Roger. How you doing, Roger?
I'm good, doing really well. And you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Who brings us you?
Just me, myself, and I think is probably the best way of doing it.
What webpage can we find you at?
You can find me on www.rogersmith.com.au/Roger, which is now myself as an expert on cybercrime. Right. Or you can find us on R&I consulting.com.au, which is just the standard website.
Excellent. So it has been a while since the previous episode, but in the grand scheme of things, when you download, hey, if you've only just discovered us, it's just been rolling out one after the other.
That's right. I'll get the next one tomorrow.
That's right. All right, and also don't forget you can listen to the episode on AussieTechRadio.com. So yeah, you can find us different ways: iTunes, Aussie Tech Radio, or just go to the Facebook page. We'll post a link up there. Now, this week, what are we talking about? We've got something to do with web pages. We secure from a security point of view for our own web page, and also from web pages that we actually browse to. So let's start with our own web page. So I'm guessing, Roger, is this the responsibility of the boss, who employs the web design, or if it's outsourced, can we still look into some security enhancements for what we do day-to-day to look after things?
Yes, definitely. When it comes to people who are building websites, we've found that, once again, that security is one of the lowest priorities when people put together a website. And this includes a lot of web companies who actually code for websites. And things like content management systems, which is things like WordPress and Drupal and Joomla and all those sort of products. People do not realize how important just the basic website setup is. Yeah. And what can happen if you don't get it right the first time. Because a lot of people just sit there and go, I've bought a domain name, I've set up hosting for the domain itself, I'm now going to put up a website, and whether it's HTML or it's a content management system, people just don't realize that they need to think security before they start.
So even to the point of view that, some people will say, okay, yeah, register the domain name, easy. Or even so, it's getting more common, you jump onto the ELANCE, which is the overseas help from India, and you get web pages built for a few $100s. So there's obviously, without going into ramifications of all that, just quickly, do you think that the Indians, would they be putting in backdoors? Do you think, or
most people who build websites don't do it because they've been when they build a website, they know the administrative component of it is relatively important. And when they build it, they don't want to be locked out. So they'll always put a secondary administration account in. Right. And that's one of the things you've got to be very aware of. And also, web developers have this nasty habit of just going, well, I'm going to use my initials as the username and password is password, because it's not important to them, because that's how they've always set it up. Yes. And it's the same as us when if you use something like cPanel and you go in there and you put in WordPress on your website, you click the button that says install website, and all of the information that comes up as the default is known by all the bad guys on the internet. So they know that the username is going to be admin. Yes. A lot of people just go, well, I don't need a password, bang, and off it goes. You can't do that nowadays. You have to put a password in, but a lot of people just go admin or admin password. And this type of thing is something that the spiders on the internet and the bad guys who are looking at it are looking at just that. They'll go to your website and go, well, let's try the 50 top utilized ones straight off the bat.
Yeah. So as far as like with the passwords to actually get into the back end of websites, how important also would it be? It's suggested you change the prefix of the database as well.
Yes, definitely. Again, it's something that the defaults are already known, and they are known widely by a lot of people. So your idea is to have a system that you put together that says, okay, the database is going to be called this, the administrator is going to be called first name underscore administrator with a couple of numbers after it. So it makes it very difficult for the automated systems to actually touch your website.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got a system on our website, one of our websites. We use as what is called a honeypit, which is just to see if anybody can actually access it. And we get probably 30 to 60 emails a day from this system that says, this person has tried it from this IP address with this username and password. And the username and passwords are all a generic versioning of it. So it'll be admin and password and admin and admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. These type of things, because people still use those as their back door or their administration to their website.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So we've got the website. We've commissioned a website, or we've built it ourselves. We've got the passwords pretty much secure, hopefully.
Yes.
So your recommendation, or what are your views on the content management systems? Do you have a problem with the WordPresses and the Joomlas? Would you rather?
Not at all. I think they're especially since 3.6 version, everything now coming forward, which is 4.01 and 4.1, have been relatively secure. They've put a lot of work and time into the PHP engine that runs it, and that makes it a lot more secure in itself as well. And you can then use other components of WordPress to come up with how you want your look and feel of your website to be, but also in the back end with security component plugins like putting a capture on the website on the administration panel for the website itself, so that you have to have 3 components to actually get into your website, and it's a really good idea to do that. Another one is a plugin by a company called Securi, which has and it's I think it's $70 a year, and you can have 5 websites on your account. But again, that'll tell you when people are trying to hack you. It'll tell you when people are changing your plugins or installing plugins. And these are things that are very important to the security of your website itself. Because if you see someone has installed a plugin onto your website, then you can actually question the person who's installed it, for one. And if nothing is above board, you can then go back and do something about it straight away. Instead of having one of your customers come to you and saying, we went to your website and we got infected. How did that happen?
Yes, and that does happen. I think I've had a couple of times when you go to websites, ones that maybe I look after or whatever, and you get the red Google page. Warning, malware ahead, and you start panicking. But I think, that's Securi. I think it's securi.com from memory. But if you Google it, you'll find it. And I've used it. They've got a tool. You've got to scroll right down to the bottom of the page, and there's a free tool where it will scan your website and tell you how you're going.
Yes, and you can actually get them to actually repair the damage that's been done as well. Yeah,
but once again, I suppose, if we go back to a few episodes ago, if you've got a backup, if the damage is extensive, it might be quicker just to, reload it.
Yeah, that's right. And again, with all the content management systems, there are plugins that you can do a backup of both your database and your system. Most content management websites and hosting is now done on cPanel, and that's also got a backup on it. And if you're doing, depending on how much information you're putting up there, depends on how often you want to back up. If you're doing, say, what we're doing at the moment, which is 2 or 3 updates per week, then weekly is a good time. But if you haven't done anything for a month, then you still have the position to go back to it and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I think just for information, I think a good plugin that I use is for backing up is Duplicator.
Yes.
That seems to work okay for me. For some reason, I've got one site it doesn't like, but most of it, and then I've got to do it manually. But most of the time, Duplicator is a good plug-in for that. So if we are doing our own web page, what do we need to remember? When installing them, is that just the passwords, or is there anything else that we need to do to prepare the hosting environment?
In most cases, no. Most of the systems now are literally click here, fill in the information, and go set up, and off it goes and does it. And as I said, if you're thinking ahead when you're doing that, then you haven't got a problem. It's when you have not thought ahead that you then may have other problems with it. But the other thing is your plugins and your, I suppose, other components of your website. If you want to do a survey, there's survey things with cPanel and that type of thing as well. And it also depends on what content you're going to use on the website itself. Is it going to be a blog? Is it just going to be a landing page? Are you going to have traffic coming from social media to it? All of those informations and those ideas have to go into how you're going to manage your website anyway.
I've seen a couple of infections come from not the actual install of a website, but because the person has been mucking around installing, like Lime Survey or some other thing in another part of the server, and they've forgotten about it because they've moved on to other things. They've dabbled with it, they've left it. That's become infected because that hadn't been updated, which then has come across to the WordPress site, and and it's infected it that way. So I think if anything on your server, you just got to keep it updated if it's any type of CMS.
Yeah, and the other thing is also you've got to be aware of what the hosting company is doing, because your cPanel, for instance, is sitting on some version of a server platform, and if they're just setting it up and then leaving it and not patching their back end and not updating PHP and not updating MySQL, then you are going to have overall problems across the whole platform, and that includes all of the websites that are on that platform as well. And people forget that our responsibility is to look after our website, and that includes things like making sure you're updating your plugins and all this sort of stuff. And the plugins get updated regularly nowadays because the actual developers have actually realized that, yes, they're not perfect and they do make mistakes, and they rectify these mistakes with updates, and that is very good for the industry itself. Yeah,
I think plugins are a big one, and I think even I'm not sure, do you go into the speed of the web page as well? Do you know much about things like that?
Yeah, and also with Google pushing local search and also mobile search, you have to make sure that what you're putting up there as a website is relatively easy and fast to upload, to download to your device.
Yes.
Because otherwise people, I don't know about you, but if it takes more than 10 seconds and it hasn't rendered, it's usually I'm going to hit the back button.
Yes.
And that's 90% of people will do that. And also on top of that, you've got to make sure that what is rendering is the parts of the website that you want to render as well.
So I think the main thing to look at for the speed is maybe just get rid of any unwanted plugins. We're talking about WordPress, I suppose, specifically. Yep. Get rid of any unwanted plugins. I don't know. There is a few things to do, and you're probably just best to talk to your web developer about that sort of stuff. Maybe caching is another good one. But more technical things, payment gateways, etc. Payment gateways like PayPal, the banks have got their own e-ways and all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
What are like membership sites, vouchers, and gift cards? What have we got to be wary? Anything? What have we got to do to prepare? What do we need?
Okay. When it comes to the digital criminal, they are after any way of getting anything out of you, and whether they infect your website or they are using your systems to get other people to be infected is really irrelevant. So what you have to do is make sure that when you are setting things up, that you think clearly about what you're going to do. If you're going to have an e-commerce site, then there is no free e-commerce site that is really, really secure. You have to pay for. And in today's world, if you're paying $200 or $300 for an e-commerce site, then you're doing really well. On top of that, things like membership sites are also another thing that we, if you've got a website that you want to actually sell membership for, or you have to be a member for, then you also have to think about what information you're going to be collecting, because that information is going into your database, and it's then your responsibility to protect it. And that's, again, something that people do not realize, that it doesn't matter what information you're collecting, but the moment you are collecting it, you have to protect it.
Yeah, so I suppose, like, you know, sometimes you send your info off to the PayPal and away it goes. That's all secured. Now, is there what do we need? Do we need the SSLs, the certificates?
Yes. Well, today's with Google's pushing that even basic websites need to have SSL security around it, and SSL security is literally a certificate that comes from Thwaite, or whatever they're called nowadays. And it encrypts all of the information, not only on the site itself, but in the communication between the browser and the other end of the website itself, the page itself. Now, both SSL and TLS are the versions of how they secure it. Now, with Google pushing this, and a lot of people are now realizing that it's just as easy to build a website that's SSL component and than that it is not. And all it is at the back end, when you type in www, wherever you want to go.com, then it automatically changes from port 80, which is the normal www, to HTTPS, which is the secure connection. And that's something that, as I said, that Google is now starting to push, because Google is actually getting involved in the cybercrime and cyber security components of the internet itself. Because they don't like seeing their customers get hacked and infected.
No, because I know even when you put your name into a website, I will always glance up to see if it's a secure site. Because I think, well, I know the payment gateway is going to take me to PayPal, which is secure, but I'm putting my name and address and phone number still, and email into this guy's website. Who knows where that's going?
Yeah, that's dead right. So
what I wanted to ask you as well, with these certificates, you know, people say, oh, it costs too much, etc. But what are the different levels? Because I've got a screenshot here that I'll throw up, which you can't see, Roger, but everyone else can. But there's different levels. There's there's from as cheap as $49 or $50 a year.
Yep.
And I think it can range up to thousands of dollars per year if you want the nice little green line or whatever across the top. But are they all they're all HTTPS, but are they all as secure as the next?
Well, there's really two levels. There's the high-end security and there's the low-end security. Now, you can buy a secure certificate for your website, which is www, which it'll cost you $49. Okay, and that's a yearly payment, not expensive. The next step up, which is something called a wildcard, which means that if you've got your website on www and you've got maybe an FTP site, which is FTP, going to another location, and you've got mail, for instance. Each one of those requires a certificate as well.
Right.
Now, if you buy a root certificate, you can then generate your own certificates for whatever the domain is. So www then has its own certificate as part of that.
Yes.
The next stage up is when you start paying semantic and the high-end players, and you're talking not only 4096 bit encryption, but you're talking 3 times that. So it's a huge jump in security.
Yes.
But it still comes down to security is only as secure as your weakest link. And if you've got all of this running and you've got the green line and running at the top of the page and everything else, and you've got a password, then it's not going to do bloody anything at all.
No.
That's what people forget, that security builds on itself all the time. And if you do that 1 weak link, it's always going to be available to no matter what you put on the top of it.
So you go along, we've done everything that you've said, and you know, we've built our WordPress website and everything's hunky dory. Then all of a sudden we do get some crazy things starting to come in, and you test your site through security, and it says, oh, these files are infected, blah blah blah. How does you're up to date with everything? So code injection, has that just come through a weak link in a plugin or something like that, or how does the code injection come in?
Well, it depends. Code injection can come from literally anywhere. The most prolific one is from a site on a server that has been infected by some other site. So literally the databases are next to it on the same system, and again it comes down to using default
passwords
and default locations for files and everything else.
Yeah.
We just did a video recently about 10 ways you can actually improve your security without paying a cent.
Right.
And one of them is every time that you install something, you don't install it into the default location.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Because everybody knows where you're going to put Office.
Yes.
And everybody knows where you're going to use that plugin. So if you put a synonym at the beginning of it or something at the end, then you've actually changed the default location, and it makes it very hard for them to understand where to go from there.
Yes.
If you do that with your SQL databases, then again you have another step that they have to do. They have to actually find that before they can do an injection onto your system.
So when you were saying that your databases are lined up and next to each other on the same machine, how does that work, let's say, in a shared environment? Like most hosting sites, most web pages...
They are separated, and they're separated to a level. But if you get someone on one website who's not as security conscious as you, then that's an unsecure site can actually infect everything else that's on that website. But it also means that you have to do something, or the web hosting company has to do something at their end. And you would find that if you've been infected by an SQL injection, then a lot of the other sites on that server, and hopefully their monitoring system should have picked it all up.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so.
Yeah. Well, that's
yes. All right. So, okay. So, are you that's about as much as you wanted to talk about as far as building the site? Can you think of anything else? I can't. You just keep everything updated is my main tip.
Yeah, we have a new saying, and one of the saying is trust no one. When it comes to even right down to you're putting a plugin on a website. For instance, you're looking for a contact form. Okay. Yep. If you do a search for plugins on contact form, you'll get probably 60 of them.
Yeah.
The next thing you do is you look at not only the features, but how much people are recommending that form that you're going to put in as a plugin. Because after people have got to the stage of having 10 or 15 recommendations, then you know that they're going to do something about their plugin themselves, and B, that people who are using it understand that they are relatively secure. Because if someone puts a plugin on their website and then it gets hacked through that plugin, then people are going to write about it. And we know what social media is like in that respect.
Yes.
You don't want to stuff up to that level, because your name will be mud, and you might as well throw your website away and start again somewhere else.
Now, on the other side of the fence, where you browse on web pages, everyone does. It goes, looks here, looks there, and like I said, you put your name and address to sign up to something. How important is the little lock? General browsing, would you say stop at no lock, no personal information?
Well, I don't class personal information as first name, last name, and email address. Okay, so if anybody is only asking for that information, then that's not a problem. Right. And I don't really worry about whether, I might get spam, I might get inundated with crap from the website, but if I'm looking for something that I need to put that into, I'm not really perturbed about it.
Yeah.
If I need to put personal information in, like I'm buying something, I better make sure that the lock is there. Yes. Because not only are you going to put in your name and address and phone number, you are going to put in things like credit card details and all that sort of stuff. So the moment you cross that line between how much, and a lot of people have their own level, they don't care if the internet knows your first name, last name, email address, and phone number, for instance. It's not to them. That's not important. But the moment you cross that line that says, okay, the information that we're going to collect is going to be about you,
Yes.
then the next question is, why do you need it?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about a lot of people also don't understand, that the moment they start collecting information, they've got to look after it. It's no longer in your control.
Yes, that's right.
We recently did we actually bought some RAM for a server recently, and the first website I went to asked, we found the product and we went, yeah, that's a good price, and we went, okay, we're going to buy it. They literally asked us every question they could think of. And when we got to the second page of it, I said, thank you very much, we will go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because not only did they want us to fill in all the stuff on the website, they actually said we had to download a PDF and actually fill it in and send it back to them.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, this is for RAM for a server.
Wow.
It has no military value. It has no anything that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's also what people have to do, because a website should make it easy for me to buy something from you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It should be okay, I want that product. I have a PayPal account. I can go to PayPal and pay for it, because all of that information is already in PayPal, and I trust PayPal.
Yes. Yes.
And also, this is also what it comes down to. It comes down to how much you trust the person who's selling the information, who's selling the product to you.
Yeah, I think, I'm like you. I would have stopped at the PDF as well. That's crazy.
Well, it's quite funny, because I went to the next website underneath it, and it was, how many do you want, and pay by PayPal, and it was, what?
I probably wouldn't have even opened the PDF. What's this?
Well, that's what I could, and it was the terms and conditions, the tick box, and you had to actually go through all the terms and the conditions all the way to the bottom of it, and it was about 75 pages, and you think to yourself, I've got to roll all the way down that and tick that I agree.
But like,
no.
it amuses me, like, say, like when you're buying, I don't know, you might be even buying just some download from a site.
Yeah.
Why do they want to know your address?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Were they going to come and ask you how it's going, personally, in a couple of weeks?
You can bang on your door.
I always put my accountant's address when I do stuff like
we've got a PO box, and even deliveries that don't go to a PO box, we put in a PO box, and when they ring us and say we don't deliver to PO boxes, that's when we tell them where the address is.
Right. Yes.
Because to me, but then once again, my PayPal account has my home address on it as well. So as I said, if I'm paying through PayPal, then everything's already there. I don't have to put any more information in, and they get all that information delivered to them straight away when they go, okay, yes, we've got the money, and PayPal has said you've got to deliver it here. Yay!
Yeah, well, that's right. So trust the PayPals. I do. Like, people say they don't. I trust the bank. People say I don't do internet banking, but like, move with the times.
PayPal spends somewhere between 20 and 30% of revenue on security. So that's a hell of an investment on making sure that my information is secure. And they do a good job of it, because the last time they got attacked or hacked was about 7 years ago. So
yeah. Now, another little one here. I'm not sure if you can tell me if you want to approach this one today or not, but the internet search.
Oh, yes. Actually, probably better idea to leave it till next time, because internet search can get really in-depth.
Right.
And it's something that we probably need 20 minutes for.
Right.
And it's something that people forget about when they are doing a searching for a product or a service, or they're trying to find information about someone's boob fell out on a stage and all this sort of stuff. So they need to understand why the bad guys use internet search and how they use it, because it is a very complicated way of being attacked.
Well, that's a good teaser for the next episode. So
internet
search, next episode, what the bad guys are doing behind the scenes.
Yes.
All right. Now, I know over the last 5 episodes now, we've amassed quite a following, and I think it's time that if you have a question for Roger, why don't you send it in? And,
Yeah, or go onto iTunes and put it in the comment section as well.
Yeah,
and
all
we'll quite happily answer any questions that people ask.
Yeah. So if you've got a question, if maybe we didn't go deep enough into one of the topics, or that you've got a specific question about one of the topics that Roger's discussed, well, yeah, drop us a line. You can on the iTunes, or just email me at glenn@aussietechheads.com.au, and next episode or whenever we'll put it to Roger, and we'll get the answers for you. Right. Well, I think that's just about done. Episode 5. Roger, that's pretty good.
Thanks, Glenn. That's great.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, we see you soon.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
More regularly.
Yes. So, and if you're downloading it tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks again, Rog, for your insight into the security world, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Glenn.
All right. See you guys. See you soon. Bye bye.